I moved to this quiet suburban neighborhood just a few days ago. I was trying to start fresh after a bad breakup. I thought the calm streets would help me focus on my freelance graphic design work. The houses looked neat, and the yards were tidy. It all felt so perfect, but almost too perfect. I could still smell the fresh paint lingering in the air when I walked in the front door. On my third night, I came back from a grocery run. I was tired and distracted. I pulled out my keys and put one in the lock. It felt wrong. I turned it again. Nothing. I fumbled with it for an hour. Twisting and turning, the door wouldn't budge. I thought it was just me being stupid. Maybe the stress of moving was getting to me. Every evening after that, I found myself wrestling with the door. Each time I thought I was just getting used to the lock. It looked new. Maybe it just needed more time. But each time I tried, unease washed over me. One night, as I struggled again, I saw shadows flickering past my windows. It's like something was watching me. I shook it off, telling myself it was just my mind playing tricks. But it gave me chills. During the day, I tried to ignore it. But the sounds in the house got weirder. I started to hear soft laughter, like kids playing, echoing through the walls. I thought it was probably just the neighbors. But the laughter seemed so close, yet no one was outside when I looked. My heart raced when I realized how unsettling it felt. Eventually I met my neighbor, Tom. He introduced himself and asked too many questions about my work schedule and how I was settling in. It felt like he was trying to learn my every move. I laughed it off, but his eyes lingered on me longer than they should have. Maybe he was just friendly, but I wasn't sure. But one evening I returned home, determined to sort things out. When I got to the door, it felt heavier. I could almost hear my heart pounding. When I tried the key, I hesitated. Cold dread crept in. What if it wasn't just the key? What if something wanted to keep me out? I took a deep breath, sweat coating my palms as I held the key. Then I heard it again. A soft laugh, just inside the walls. I froze. I thought maybe it was all in my head. I should just change the locks and get new keys. I tried the door that night, but it was still locked tight. I turned around to look down the street. No one was there. But I felt eyes on me, and I didn't know why. I wasn't sure of anything anymore. The next morning I woke up with a sense of dread hanging over me. I told myself again that I could change the locks. I needed to feel safe. After breakfast, I grabbed my keys and headed to the hardware store. On the way, I passed Tom's house. He stood outside, washing his car, and waved at me. My skin prickled as I waved back. What was he doing up so early? At the store, I picked out sturdy new locks and a few tools to change them myself. As I stood at the counter, the cashier asked how I was settling in. I forced a smile, ready to brush off the strange noises and the locked door. But the moment I spoke, I felt a weird tension in the air, like I was being listened to more closely than I realized. When I got back home, I laid everything out on the kitchen table. I took a deep breath and got to work. As I removed the old lock, I noticed something strange. Scratches around the door frame that hadn't been there before. It looked like something had tried to claw its way inside. My stomach churned. I got lost in my thoughts again, wondering if I was losing my mind. After a few minutes, I pushed those thoughts aside and refocused on installing the new lock. I wasn't going to let fear get the best of me. Just as I finished, I heard a loud thud from upstairs. My heart dropped. The sound came again, like something heavy falling over. I stared at the ceiling, frozen, willing my imagination to stay in check. "Hello?" I called, my voice shaky. Silence answered me. Gathering my courage, I climbed the stairs. Each step felt heavier than the last. Just as I reached the top, I saw shadows flicker in the hallway. I stepped forward, careful, thinking it was just the light from the window. But the shadows moved again, darting down the hall, out of my sight. I thought I might scream. I took a deep breath and followed. The laughter started again. Soft, giggling but distorted now, almost mocking. It wasn't coming from inside my head. I could hear it clearly, close enough to make my skin crawl. When I reached the end of the hall, I found myself in front of the spare room, the door slightly ajar. It creaked as I pushed it open. Inside, it was dark. The curtains were drawn tight, blocking all sunlight. I fumbled for a switch but couldn't find it. Just as I stepped into the room, something cold brushed against my ankle. I flinched, pulling back. Then, in the corner of my eye, I noticed a glint. I turned my head, heart racing. That's when I saw it. A small toy car, sitting on the floor. It was red and shiny, but I'd never seen it before. Unease settled in again. Who had left it there? Before I could move, I felt a rush of air behind me. I spun around, but the hallway was empty. Then laughter rang out again, echoing from somewhere deeper within the house. I froze, realizing that this time, the sound was right next to me. I needed to get out. But the door had closed behind me, and when I tried to pull it open, it wouldn't budge. Panic surged. Something was definitely wrong, and I was trapped. I yanked on the knob again, desperation fueling my strength. The door didn't budge. I took a step back, scanning the room, looking for another way out. A rush of cold air swept past me, making the hairs on my arms stand on end. The laughter continued, echoing in the shadows, and I was convinced it was taunting me. Get a grip, I told myself, even as my heart raced. I needed to stay calm. Maybe if I could find a window, I could... The laughter abruptly stopped. I held my breath, straining to hear anything. A feeling of dread washed over me. I focused on the door again and tried to push it open. It was as if something solid was blocking it. My mind raced. What was on the other side? I turned toward the window, squinting in the dim light. Maybe I could climb out. I moved cautiously, knowing if something was lurking anywhere nearby, it was probably getting ready to pounce. As I reached the curtain, I hesitated. Would I really risk it? A shiver ran down my spine. Instead, I leaned closer, trying to peer outside. The view was obscured. Trees loomed, blocking my escape. Suddenly, a flash of red caught my eye. It was the same color as the toy car. There, in the bushes below, I swore I saw a figure, small and thin, crouching low, just out of full view. Panic surged again. I stumbled back from the window, my heart pounding harder. Was it a child? Who was in my yard? I took another desperate shot at the door, but my hand slipped, and I fell against it. The handle rattled this time. I held my breath, surprised it had even moved. I pressed my weight against the door again, and with a final heave, it swung open just enough for me to slip through. I stumbled onto the landing, gasping for air, and turned back toward the room. It was dark. I could barely see, but I felt sure something or someone was waiting behind me. I needed to make my way out of the house. I dashed down the hall, glancing back at the shadows, feeling eyes on me. Just as I reached the staircase, the laughter returned. Not mocking or distant this time, but clear as bell, and right behind me. My body froze. I felt an overwhelming instinct to turn, to see, to fight. What was happening? Why was this happening? With every ounce of strength, I dashed down the stairs, careening toward the front door. As I flung it open and stepped out into the light, I took a gulp of fresh air. My thoughts were jumbled. I ran across the yard to the street, desperate to escape the house. But I turned back for a moment. That's when I saw it again. The toy car sat in the center of the floor, glimmering like a warning. And on the old chair in the corner, I swear I saw something move, but I couldn't be sure. I had to know. Who or what was inside? I felt a pull, a need to uncover the truth. But as I turned to go back, something made me stop. A shadow darted past the window, too quick to identify. I wasn't alone. Not anymore. I stood frozen on the street, heart racing, torn between the urge to run and the need to go back. That laughter still echoed in my ears, and I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever was in the house wanted me to return. I glanced at the front door, half open and inviting me back in. "Get it together," I muttered. I took a few shaky steps toward the house. The toy car remained where it had been, a bright beacon in the gloom. Worn and dusty, it seemed so innocent. But I knew better now. Maybe it was just a prank, I whispered to myself. But as I stepped closer, the shadows surrounding the house felt thicker, as if the night itself wanted to swallow me. I flinched at the sound of rustling from the bushes near the window. Without thinking, I darted behind a tree, leaning against its rough bark. I needed to see what was going on inside. Peeking around the trunk, I watched and waited. The window was still dark, but a slow movement caught my attention. Something small shuffled past the curtain. A chill raced through me. It wasn't just my imagination. I pushed away from the tree and moved back toward the house. I had to find out who or what was inside. Maybe if I was brave enough, I could put an end to whatever this was. Breath held tight, I crept to the open door. With each step, the laughter returned, this time sounding closer, more personal, almost playful. It urged me on, tempting me to enter. "Okay," I whispered as I stepped inside, ready for anything. I scanned the dark hallway. It felt more alive than before, pulsating with electric tension. I took a deep breath and moved deeper into the shadows, focused on the chair in the corner where I thought I'd seen something. As I inched toward it, I spotted what looked like a reflection of my own eyes staring back. A mirror hung crookedly on the wall, but something in the reflection didn't belong. I turned quickly, but the room was empty. The laughter was just a memory now, bouncing off the walls like a ghostly reminder. Then a new sound broke through. The creak of wood coming from upstairs. I froze, my breath catching in my throat. Someone, or something, was up there. It wasn't just my imagination. I slowly turned toward the staircase, heart thudding in my chest. It seemed like the house itself was waiting, daring me to take the next step. I stepped closer to the stairs, inching my foot forward. That itch in my gut told me I shouldn't go up there. Yet another part of me felt compelled to find out the truth. And then, just as I was about to climb the first step, a figure darted past the upstairs hallway, a flash of red that made my skin crawl. I stumbled back, breathless. I wasn't alone, and I was about to find out just how much trouble I was in. I stood there, my heart racing even faster than before. The flash of red lingered in my mind, stirring a cocktail of fear and curiosity. I couldn't just leave now, could I? But every instinct screamed for me to turn around and get out. Taking a shaky breath, I leaned against the wall, trying to collect myself. The house felt like it was breathing, the air thick and heavy. I glanced up toward the stairs again, scanning for any sign of movement. Silence stretched between me and the unknown above. "Get a grip," I told myself. I had come this far. I had to see this through. But as I inched closer to the staircase, the creaking wood echoed in the empty hall like a warning. I hesitated. Was this a smart move? But then I remembered that laughter. That haunting, playful laughter. I had to know what it meant. With a deep breath, I took the first step, then another. Climbing slowly, the floorboards groaned beneath my weight. I winced, every sound amplified in the stillness. As I reached the top, there was a long corridor stretching out in front of me, shrouded in darkness. My mind raced with questions. What had I seen? Who or what was in this house? I moved forward, my pulse pounding in my ears. Each step felt heavier, as if I was being pulled deeper into the house's secret. Then, just as I approached the first door on my right, I heard it again. The unmistakable sound of laughter. It bubbled up, echoing off the walls. And I froze. This time, it wasn't just a memory. It was right there, behind that door. I reached for the handle, but it was cold, and my fingers trembled. What if it was waiting for me? Still, that laughter wrapped around me like a thick fog, urging me forward. I pushed the door open slowly, heart racing. The room was dark, illuminated only by a sliver of moonlight creeping in from the window. I could see children's toys scattered across the floor, a small table with tiny chairs, and something else, something dark in the corner. My stomach twisted with dread. "Hello," I called, my voice trembling. No response. The laughter faded to a whisper. I stepped inside, my eyes scanning the room. That's when I saw it. A movement. It flickered like a shadow, darting past the wall. Before I could react, a loud bang echoed behind me, and I whirled around, my heart dropping. The door had slammed shut, trapping me in the room. Panic surged as I rushed to grab the handle, but it wouldn't budge. I was locked in. "Let me out!" I shouted, rattling the door. My voice echoed back, mocking me. I could hear the laughter again, growing louder, filling the small space. I banged on the door, desperation clawing at my throat. "Let me out." But there was no answer. The laughter morphed into something darker, more sinister. It was as if whatever was in the house fed off my fear. I sank to the floor, my back against the door, heart pounding. I was trapped, and I had no idea what would happen next. I pushed my back harder against the door, as if I could will it open. Panic surged through me, and I kicked at the wood in frustration. "Please, someone, help!" Silence was my only answer, thick and suffocating. The laughter faded to an unsettling quiet, leaving only my heavy breathing, echoing in my ears. Then I heard a shuffle, a soft, dragging sound, like something sliding across the floor. My body froze, instincts firing as I peered into the shadows. "Who's there?" I whispered, my voice barely above a murmur. No reply, just the sense that I wasn't alone anymore. The darkness seemed to close in, and I edged closer to the small window, searching for a way out. Think, I muttered. I needed to get out of this locked room, but the window was too high and narrow. I couldn't risk climbing out. Who knew what waited for me outside? But staying here felt just as dangerous. I turned back to the door and rattled the handle again, a little more desperate this time. "Let me out." But it was as unyielding as before. Above the sound of my pounding heart, I heard it again. Soft laughter, playful and infectious. My skin prickled. It was so close, and yet I still couldn't see anything. I pressed my ear against the door, straining to hear. That's when I felt it. A little hand brushing against the cracks near the bottom of the door. I jumped back, my breath hitching. "Who's there? Play with me?" A child's voice sang through the door, sweet but eerily distorted. The laughter bubbled up again, this time mixed with a sort of wheezing, like someone, or something, was struggling to breathe. I shot up from the floor, panic coursing through my veins. I turned back to the window, looking for another escape. But the voice continued, insistent. "Just a little longer. I want to play." "Play? What do you mean? Let me out." I shouted, my throat tightening. The doorknob twisted, but it didn't turn. That same little hand slid back into the darkness, followed by the whispers. "Only if you play with me first." Then, surprisingly, The laughter faded altogether, leaving a thick silence that felt heavy in the room. I glanced around, feeling an odd sense of absence. What had just happened? Suddenly, a soft thud came from behind me. I jerked around to find the corner in the room fully illuminated as a small lamp flickered to life. It revealed a girl with tangled hair and a mischievous smile, sitting cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by toys. My heart raced. The shadows that had flickered past earlier were not just memories. "Will you play with us?" she asked, tilting her head, the innocence lost in her eyes. Panic washed over me again as I stumbled back toward the door, heart hammering. "Get away from me!" I yelled. But the girl just giggled, a sound that sent chills down my spine. It's no fun when you're scared. That laughter wrapped around me again, thick and suffocating. I was locked in, with no way to escape. Then, as I scrambled to find another option, I noticed something interesting on the table. The flashlight I'd seen from the doorway, its beam flickering, a moment of hope in the growing darkness. I lunged toward it, adrenaline kicking in, but the room spun. And just like that, everything went dark. I gasped as the darkness enveloped me, thick and absolute. The air felt heavy, like I was submerged. I blinked, trying to adjust, but nothing came into focus. My heartbeat quickened, the silence screaming in my ears. Suddenly I felt a cold breeze, chilling my skin. It wasn't just silence anymore. The oppressive quiet shifted. It was as if the room had transformed, and I was no longer alone. I took a deep breath, summoning my courage, and fumbled around, searching for the flashlight. My fingers brushed against something smooth and cool. A toy? I recoiled, eyes wide as I tried to remember where I was. "Hello?" I called out, my voice trembling. "Is anyone there?" In response, the laughter erupted again, echoing off the walls, haunting and playful. "Do you want to play hide-and-seek?" The girl's voice rang out, wrapping around me like a noose. Hide-and-seek? In this nightmare? My mind raced. I couldn't let this child play with me. Not like this. I needed a plan. I stumbled toward the wall, fingers searching for an exit, anything to help me escape this twisted game. But the shadows mocked me, dancing just out of reach. Then, I felt it. A window. It was small, but I could try to climb up, maybe get a foothold. "Are you hiding?" the girl teased, her voice a sing-song blend of innocent and sinister. "Stop it!" I shouted, my voice cracking. My heart was pounding louder than the laughter. "I'm not playing." I found the flashlight and flicked it on. The beam sliced through the darkness, illuminating the clutter in the room. Broken toys, dusty books, and strange markings on the wall. My stomach knotted as the light danced over jagged words scratched into the paint. "Get out. Find me," it said. An icy chill crept down my spine. I swung the flashlight toward the girl, but she was gone. In her place was a collection of toys, each one eerily still. The laughter grew louder, bouncing off the walls, filling the space with an unseen energy that pulled at my sanity. "Enough!" I shouted, trying to steady myself. I needed to keep my mind clear. There had to be a way out. I panned the flashlight around, desperate to find anything that would help me. That's when I noticed a door at the far end of the room. I hadn't seen it before, hidden behind a stack of crates. My heart raced. Could it be another way out? I backed toward it, keeping the light steady, my breath coming in quick bursts. "Come play!" The girl's voice echoed from behind me, and I turned, fear gripping my chest. But she wasn't around anymore. Only the relentless laughter that seemed to be everywhere. I rushed to the door, yanking the handle. It rattled but didn't budge. Panic surged through me as I tried again, twisting and pulling with all my strength. Then I heard it. Soft footsteps behind me, I froze, the hair on my arms standing on end. Someone was coming. Without thinking, I turned and ran, the flashlight beam bouncing wildly as I searched for a new escape. My breath quickened as I sprinted, the laughter growing into a cacophony. I needed to find a way out before whatever was behind me caught up. And just like that, the darkness folded in again, swallowing me whole. I stumbled through the darkness, my heart pounding in my chest. I couldn't tell where I was going, only that I needed to get away. The laughter still echoed behind me, haunting and merciless. The beam from the flashlight flickered, struggling against the inky blackness. My surroundings seemed to shift, the walls closing in as I barreled through. I felt the roughness of the floor beneath my shoes, uneven and cold. It made every step feel uncertain. Then I spotted it, a glimmer. Something shiny caught my light. I knelt down, heart racing, and found a keychain. There were several keys dangling from it, rusted and aged. Hope flickered in my chest. Maybe this would unlock a way out. I grabbed the keychain and scrambled to my feet, scanning the room for a door that might match. The laughter faded into a whisper, but I could still hear it, ghostly and mocking. I glanced over my shoulder, half expecting to see the girl appear again, but the room remained empty. With renewed purpose, I turned back to the door I had tried earlier. I could feel the rough wood under my fingers, panic melting into determination. One of these keys had to work. I fumbled through the keys, trying to read the inscriptions on them, but the dim light made it impossible. I tried one that looked promising. It fit perfectly in the lock, but when I turned it, I felt only the deep resistance of failure. "Come on," I panted, shaking. I tried another key, then another. None worked. Adrenaline gave way to desperation. What if I couldn't get out? That's when I heard it again. The soft echo of footsteps, closer this time. It sent a fresh wave of terror spreading through me. I glanced nervously to the side, my eyes darting back toward the darkness, my breaths growing shallow. Suddenly my flashlight flickered and went out. Blind panic surged through me. I stumbled back, scrabbling helplessly at the keys in the dark. With no source of light, all I had was the sound of my own panicked breathing and the relentless laughter flooding my ears, drowning out everything else. And then, out of the darkness, I felt a small hand on my shoulder, icy and unyielding. I froze, my heart threatening to burst. "Are you ready to play?" The girl's voice lilted, taunting and sweet all at once. I turned slowly, feeling as if I were moving through molasses. There she was, her eyes wide and playful, the shadows curling around her like a protective veil. I wanted to scream, to run, but my body refused to cooperate. All that filled my mind was sheer panic as I realized I hadn't just lost the keys. I had lost my way entirely. "Stop!" I finally managed to shout, my voice shaking. But she only giggled in response, stepping closer. The floorboards creaked under her weight, echoing ominously in the darkness. I felt cornered, the walls closing in, as I tried to make sense of what to do next. That's when I noticed something glistening at her feet. A key. A single key, just like the others, resting innocently on the ground. "Do you want it?" she chimed, tilting her head as if daring me to reach for it. A new dread settled in my stomach. I knew instinctively that whatever answer I found would change everything. Would I have the courage to take it, or would I be trapped forever? She continued to smile, her eyes bright in the dark, but there was something sinister behind her cheerful facade. The laughter rang in my ears, wrapping around me like a suffocating blanket, and my fear morphed into something raw and instinctual. I stepped back, the echoes of her chuckle pinching at my resolve. "Where are we?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. I was so desperate for answers, yet afraid of what they might be. "Just a place to play," she replied, her tone sing-songy. "Are you scared?" "Of course I'm scared. I don't even know how I got here." My voice rose, and I hated how shaky it sounded. "Then how about a little game?" She twirled, the shadows dancing around her. I felt nauseous. Every instinct screamed at me to run away, yet I was grounded to the spot. The key glimmered again, almost taunting me. "Games are fun," she continued, her face inching closer. "But you have to be brave to play." I glanced down at the key. It looked like one of the ones I had tried already. Its rusted surface bore the same patterns. My heart stumbled in my chest as doubt surged within me. Would picking it up even matter? "I won't let you out until you play," she said, hands on her hips, a slight pout forming on her lips. "You have to find the right key, you know." "Why do you want to keep me here?" I shot back, attempting to regain control. My voice felt stronger, steadier. She laughed again, but it was different now, rougher. "It's not me, it's the game. But then again..." She leaned in, her breath cold against my cheek. "You're awfully fun to play with." I had to think quickly. Adrenaline surged through me, sharpening my senses. There had to be a way out. I focused on the dark space behind her. If there was a door, I just needed to find it. "Where's the exit?" I demanded, trying to sound bolder. "Why ask me?" she replied with an impish grin. "You're the one with the keys." Panic bubbled back up. I turned abruptly, hoping the girl would leave me be and reveal whatever lay behind her. In the shadows, there seemed to be a faint outline of a door. Hope flickered in my chest. "Wait!" I called out, trying to keep her attention. "Let's make a deal. You can keep playing if you help me find the door." She giggled, but it did not sound gentle anymore. "See, that sounds like fun, but I'm afraid I can't help you, silly. You have to find your own way." Her playful bravado squeezed my heart. I had no option but to trust my instincts. I lunged toward the door, breathless, ignoring the laughter that clawed at the edges of my mind. Just as I reached the frame, I turned to face her. "I'll take the key," I declared, summoning every ounce of courage I had. But as I reached for the key, I felt the shadows shift around me. Something cold and dark tightened around my ankle. I screamed. In that moment, everything changed. The laughter morphed into a high-pitched shriek, and the shadows surged forward, pulling me back. "Time's up!" she called, her voice echoing ominously. I wasn't just playing a game anymore. My very freedom was at stake. As I struggled against the darkness tightening around me, I realized I was about to learn the true cost of this game. I fought against the shadows, flailing as they crept up my legs, squeezing like a vice. The girl's laughter twisted into something darker, as if the house itself was mocking me. "You have to play to win," she sang out, twirling in place. But I wasn't playing anymore. I was fighting for my life. My heart raced, determination igniting within me. I couldn't let this place take me. In one last desperate bid, I reached for the key at her feet. The instant my fingers brushed the cold metal, a surge of power coursed through me. I yanked my hand back just in time to feel the shadows recoil, just slightly, losing their grip. It was enough. With renewed ferocity, I pushed against them, screaming, "Enough! I'm not afraid of you!" A warm light exploded from my fingertips as I brandished the key at her. The girl stopped, her smile faltering, eyes widening. The shadows recoiled further, hissing softly, like steam escaping. "You can't leave! It's not fair!" She pouted, the innocence back in her voice, though it was warped by something sinister. But I didn't listen. I thrust the key forward, focusing on the door. faintly visible now, the outline shimmering like a mirage. I will find a way out. With a swift, determined motion, I turned the key in the lock, my heart racing as I felt it click. The shadows hesitated, vibrating around me. The air pulsed with energy, and the girl's giggle morphed into a screech of fury, echoing off the walls. "No! You can't!" I flung the door open, light pouring through like a flood, engulfing me instantly. I stumbled out, skin prickling as the laughter faded into a sorrowful wail behind me. I dashed down a hallway filled with fading memories, glancing back just once to find the girl silhouetted in the doorway, her smile fading into darkness. I burst through the front door into the cool night air. My senses both elated and raw. I felt the pavement beneath my feet, the distant sound of crickets ringing in my ears. I had escaped the house. I was free. But my hope faltered as I turned back, breathless. The house loomed behind me, still and quiet, yet alive with a distant echo of laughter. My heart sank. I knew all too well that resonance of joy mingled with something much darker. I could still see the toy car glimmering in the moonlight, a silent sentinel of secrets not shared. I took a shuddering breath, willing myself to move away from the front porch, but I hesitated. Questions swirled around in my mind. Had it all really happened? Was the girl trapped as much as I was? Or was she part of the darkness? I turned to walk away, but I felt a tug on my heart. Something was still watching, lurking just beyond the shadows. Memories of the laughter and the girl echoed in my thoughts, and in that moment, I understood. I may have escaped, but the game remained. There were places in this world where innocence turned into something unexplainably sinister, and I had only scratched the surface. Years later, I still think about that house. I never went back to the neighborhood. I moved on, but those memories linger like a ghost, a reminder of how close I'd come to losing everything. Was it all just in my head, or was something real still buried within those walls? The questions never left. I guess some stories end without closure, leaving the threads untied, like laughter still echoing in a forgotten corner of a darkened house. And maybe that was the scariest part of all.